What is the New Republic and the First Order anyway? Today on Sci-Fi 101. Hey everybody, I am Taylor from VII, Geek, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. Remember, if you want more manliness or geekiness in your life, go to beardvsgeek.com for some awesome articles and a weekly podcast about all sorts of things manly and geeky. Subscriber Jesse James wrote and asked this. Hey man, I just subscribed to you. So far, this is already one of my favorite channels, and I can't wait to see what else you have in store. Thanks, Jesse, and by the way, you have an awesome name. Can I make a request though? Sure. Maybe talk about the First Order and the New Republic. Thanks, man, and have a great day. Well, Jesse, you're in luck, because this is Sci-Fi 101, where I tell you everything you need to know about sci-fi so that you understand the movies, the books, and the theories behind them even better. So let's talk about the New Republic and the First Order from Star Wars: The Force Awakens. After the Battle of Endor, as featured in Return of the Jedi, where Death Star 2 was destroyed, Emperor Palpatine was destroyed along with Darth Vader, this led to a massive galactic civil war between the Rebellion, which now formed a new government called the New Republic, and the remnants of the Empire. Now, this galactic civil war had lots of battles going back and forth, leading up to the final battle at Jakku, where eventually the rebellion triumphed. Now, the Battle of Jakku marked the official end of the Galactic Civil War, when the Empire formally surrendered to the New Republic. Now, the New Republic is formed from senators from all sorts of planets who wanted to join, and is led by a chancellor. Unlike tradition, the New Republic decided not to have its Senate in Coruscant, which used to be the political hub of the entire galaxy. Instead, they moved their Senate and their Chancellor and their political stuff to the Hostian system, particularly on Hostian Prime. That did have several habitable planets, and the entire system was the hub of the New Republic. So right after the peace accords, the first thing that they did was sign a disarmament pact, disbanding the vast majority of the Republic army that helped them win the Galactic Civil War. So with that though, they did have a substantial navy and army force. However, compared to that of the Empire at its height, it is relatively small. You see, the New Republic wanted to specify international trade and peace accords with all sorts of other systems. Because after all, the entire galaxy did not join the New Republic, only a good chunk of it. So with that, they wanted to make sure that they had economic arrangements with the neutral systems, with all sorts of everybody else, and they wanted to make sure that peace was maintained through cultural understanding and economic diversity. However, corruption was known to happen in the New Republic. In fact, some senators were even being sponsored and paid under the table by outside forces and entities, giving the New Republic false information about the galaxy state. Now, while all this was happening and the New Republic was forming these economic deals and trying to get on its feet after waging a galactic civil war and finally gaining independence, one of their main generals, Leia Organa, also known as Princess Leia, stressed the importance of a military to keep the boundaries of the New Republic safe, as well as to keep an eye on outside forces and entities. Now, the Senate of the New Republic thought that this was completely unnecessary and was just warmongering on Princess Leia's part. So Princess Leia gave up her position and started the Resistance. Now, the Resistance did not have the best technologically advanced military there is, but it did have a decent amount of force. And their particular mission was to keep their eye and to keep in check an outside entity known as the First Order. Now, the Resistance, however, was funded by the Senate, although it was under the table. Officially, the Senate denounced the presence of the Resistance and proclaimed that Leia's actions was completely illegal. However, senators were able to illegally fund Princess Leia Organa and her resistance movement. So overall, the New Republic was all about self-representation, making sure that everyone had an equal part of the say of what happens in the Senate. However, even though that the New Republic did have a decent military, they still could not control all the different illegal things that were going on within their system, and ultimately could not fight off outside forces. Now let's move on to the antagonists of The Force Awakens, the First Order. Now, the First Order, which for starters has way better merchandise than the New Republic, got its start right after the Galactic Concordance was signed. Now, after the Battle of Jakku and before that, several Imperial forces fled to the outer part of the galaxy into previously unknown sectors of space to gain a tactical edge and to preserve their own lives. And that ended up forming the First Order. Now, the First Order felt like it got jilted from the New Republic and therefore made the New Republic its enemy, thus placing the New Republic and the First Order at a state of Cold War. Now, the First Order is run by Supreme Leader Snoke, and not much is known about Supreme Leader Snoke at this time. Although we do know that Supreme Leader Snoke is at least Force sensitive, not much is known about his actual training, and he is in charge of the military as well as his side project, Kylo Ren. Now, Kylo Ren was trained by Luke Skywalker in the ways of the Force, but turned to the dark side, and recruited others, known as the Knights of Ren, to follow him. Now, the First Order, realizing that it is rather easy to corrupt a Senate, paid senators in the New Republic to leak false information to the New Republic about the First Order's business dealings and about how they're going along, making it appear to the Republic that the First Order is a rather weak and disorganized mess. So the New Republic believed that since it wasn't a credible threat, that it was not justification for Leia Organa and her resistance movement to keep a check on the First Order, because that would contradict all the intelligence that they had been receiving. While leaking false information to the New Republic, the First Order was able to create a fairly sufficient military. Although their military was smaller than that of the New Republic, it was more technologically advanced. Now, although the First Order was supposed to not have an actual military, they made business dealings with several different manufacturers to make them highly technologically advanced military weapons, including brand new giant killer spaceships, TIE fighters, and the rest of it. All improvements on previous imperialistic technology. Now, also against the Galactic Concordance forbidding the First Order from having a military, and specifically having stormtroopers, they went out and they created more stormtroopers, and snowtroopers, and sand troopers, and riot troopers, and flamethrower troopers. Now, unlike the Galactic Empire, which raised its stormtroopers primarily off of volunteers, the First Order took a different approach, taking infants and babies from their families and raising them in a militaristic environment, teaching them from an extremely young age to become warriors and to fulfill their duty to the First Order. Although their military was smaller than that of the New Republic, it was more technologically advanced, so they believed that they had a better shot of actually destroying the New Republic based purely on their scientific advantage. Now, this was largely due to their giant military project, Star Killer Base, taking the idea of the Death Star blowing up a planet to the extreme, to give a scatter blast of a beam that could destroy several planets at once from light years away. These beams would travel at hyperspace speeds, coming in contact with the planets and destroying the planets. Now, the first actual test of Star Killer Base was at the Hosnian system, which, as we've stated, is the political core of the New Republic and housed its senators, its chancellor, and the vast majority of its military. And in one shot, the First Order blew up that entire system, therefore crippling the New Republic's entire system of government. However, the resistance, led by Leia Organa, ended up blowing up Star Killer Base shortly after that, while it was reloading to blow up the resistance planets. Although Star Killer Base was the informal capital of the First Order, we actually do know that Supreme Leader Snoke runs the actual First Order from a different planet, although we do not know exactly what that system is. If you like that video, go ahead and subscribe. Great videos like this are coming out every Wednesday and Sunday, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. For more awesome geeky and manly articles and a weekly podcast, go to beardvsgeek.com for some amazing stuff. Or if you really like Star Wars, you can click on one of these two awesome videos right here for a different look at the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire. Because after all, if the women don't find you manly, they should at least find you geeky. And until next time, don't go shaving on me.